Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and welcome back to the Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger Wisdom series. Today we are exploring Warren Buffett's 1987 letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders, written just months before Black Monday, the most dramatic single-day stock market crash in modern history. But rather than panic or despair, Buffett used this crisis as a teaching moment, delivering one of the most famous and enduring lessons, the Mr. Market allegory. This letter showcases his permanent holdings philosophy and delivers a critique of the portfolio insurance strategies that helped cause the crash. We'll learn how Buffett views the market volatility as an opportunity rather than a threat, why he thinks like a business analyst rather than a market analyst, and how his stated seven businesses achieved an extraordinary 57% return on equity. The Mr. Market allegory. The inside out here, think of the stock market quotations as coming from an emotionally unstable partner named Mr. Market, who offers to buy or sell your shares daily at wildly different prices. Buffett's perspective out here. Warren Buffett explains Ben Graham's famous teaching. Mr. Market has incurable emotional problems. At times, he feels euphoric and can see only the favorable factors. And when in that mood, he names a very high buy-sell price. At other times, he is depressed and can see nothing but trouble ahead. On these occasions, he will name a very low price. The key insight: Mr. Market is there to serve you, not to guide you. Why it matters. This transforms as to how you think about the market volatility. Instead of seeing price swings as scary or meaningful, you see them as opportunities created by other people's emotions. The business does not change day to day, but Mr. Market's mood swings create a buying and selling opportunity. In terms of modern application, when markets crash or soar, ask yourself, has the underlying business actually changed, or is it just Mr. Market having an emotional episode? Use his mood swings to your advantage. Buy when he is depressed, that is when he is offering low prices, and consider selling when he is euphoric, that is when he is offering high prices. Be a business analyst and not a market analyst. The inside outer being that when investing, we view ourselves as business analysts, not market analysts, not as macroeconomic analysts, and not even as security analysts. Buffett's perspective out here, Warren Buffett explains this approach. We look at economic prospects of the business, the people in charge of running it, and the price that we must pay for it. We do not have in mind any time or price for the sale. He emphasizes that our economic fate will be determined by economic fate of the businesses that we own, whether our ownership is partial or total. Why does it matter? This fundamental shift in perspective separates the successful long-term investors from speculators. Instead of trying to predict market movements or economic trends, focus on understanding individual businesses and their competitive advantages. The modern application here being that before buying any stock, write down, what does this business do? What are its competitive advantages? How good is the management? Is the price reasonable? Ignore market predictions, economic forecasts, and technical analysis. Focus purely on the business fundamentals. The portfolio insurance fallacy. The insight out here being that mechanical trading strategies like portfolio insurance create dangerous feedback loops and can destabilize entire markets. Buffett's perspective. Warren Buffett critiques the portfolio insurance strategy that contributed to the 1987 crash. Warren Buffett asks the question out here. He says that after buying a farm, would a rational owner's next order be to his real estate agent to start selling off pieces of it whenever a neighboring property was sold at a lower price? He points out this absurdity. 60 billion to 90 billion of equities were boiled on this hair trigger of mid-October in 1987. So why does that matter? It reveals how institutional sophistication can actually create massive irrationality. When everyone follows the same mechanical rules, it creates dangerous herding behavior that can trigger crashes. The modern application out here, be suspicious of any investment strategy that relies on automatic triggers or mechanical rules, whether it's stop loss, algorithmic trading, or momentum strategies. Remember that when everyone does the same thing at the same time, it often creates the opposite of intended result. The permanent holding philosophy. The inside out here being that some businesses are so exceptional that you should view them as permanent holdings, not trading vehicles, like owning pieces of outstanding private businesses. Buffett's perspective out here, Warren Buffett identifies three stocks, for example, Capital Cities, ABC, Geico, and the Washington Post that Berkshire would never sell even if they became significantly overpriced. We view these investments exactly like our successfully controlled businesses, a permanent part of Berkshire rather than merchandise to be disposed of when Mr. Market offers a sufficiently high price. Why does this matter? This challenges the conventional wisdom of taking profits or diversifying. When you truly find exceptional businesses with outstanding management, the best strategy may be to hold them indefinitely rather than trying to trade around them. The modern application for this: identify 3 to 5 businesses in your portfolio that you understand deeply and believe have sustainable competitive advantages. Consider holding these forever rather than trying to time their market prices. Focus on whether the businesses are improving, not whether the stock prices are fluctuating. The Saint at 7 success story. The insight out here being that exceptional managers running businesses with strong competitive positions can generate extraordinary returns on invested capital. Buffett's perspective: Warren Buffett reveals that Berkshire's 7 largest non-financial businesses achieved a combined return of 57% on equity capital, a figure that would rank amongst the best in the Fortune 500. He attributes this to truly extraordinary managers and businesses that require little capital to grow while making almost all of their earnings available for deployment in new opportunities. Why does it matter? This shows what's possible when you combine great businesses with great managers. There aren't high-tech or exotic businesses. There are companies like See's Candies and Nebraska Future Mart doing ordinary things exceptionally well. In terms of modern application, look for businesses that can grow without requiring proportional capital investment. These capital-light businesses with strong market positions and excellent management can compound wealth much faster than businesses that require constant reinvestment just to maintain their competitive position. This brings us to the Charlie Munger corner. While Charlie's direct quotes are limited in this letter, his influence is evident in analytical rigor and focus on business fundamentals. The letter mentions how Charlie says that let our marketable equities tell us their operating results, not by their daily or even yearly price quotations, whether our investments are successful. The key spotlight quote for this particular episode is: in the short run, the market is a voting machine, but in the long run, it's a weighing machine. This Ben Graham quote, highlighted by Buffett, perfectly captures why short-term market movements are irrelevant to long-term investment success. So what are the actionable takeaways from this particular letter? First and foremost, create your Mr. Market journal. During the next market swing, up or down, write down whether the underlying businesses you own have actually changed. This will help you separate business reality from market emotion. Secondly, define your permanent holdings. Identify 3 to 5 companies you understand so well and believe in so strongly that you'll be comfortable holding them even if the market closed for 10 years. Focus on improving these core positions rather than constantly trading. And lastly, audit your investment process. Are you acting like a business analyst, focusing on a company fundamentals, or a market analyst, focusing on price movements and predictions? Shift your research towards understanding businesses rather than predicting the market. In wrap-up, we'd like to say that the 1987 letter showcases Buffett's greatest strength, turning market chaos into teachable moments. While others panicked during the crash, he used it to illustrate timeless principles about rational investing. The Mr. Market allegory alone has helped countless investors maintain their sanity during the market turbulence. More importantly, this letter demonstrates that the best investment strategy isn't about predicting markets or timing the crashes. It's about finding great businesses at reasonable prices and holding them while the market has its emotional episodes around you. Next time, we'll explore another classic letter wherein Buffett shares more insights about building long-term wealth. That's all that we have for you in this episode, and next time we'll explore another classic letter where Buffett shares more of his insights about building long-term wealth. Hope you're enjoying the series. Do stay tuned in for more.